There was a time during the 1920s and 30s when the air was filled with Zeppelin fever. The domination of the sky was in question, and the contenders were lighter than aircraft and heavier than aircraft. Then mischances led to epic disasters, and the dirigible was finally outmoded by the age of spectacular progress in the airplane. The bright future is a thing of the past. But once they were mighty, thundering through the skies of the world, the dinosaurs of the air. Recently, there's been a surprising and completely unexpected revival. Zeppelins have been seen over the skies of London again. Closer examination reveals that they are not the signal for a new commercial or military endeavor, but the noble recreation for a new motion picture called Zeppelin. A comparison of the handcraft techniques used on the airships in the film and electronic manipulation utilized daily at any major airport give some idea to the extent to which we have passed the era of the lighter-than-air ship.
5,000 pounds. Cell pressure, negative buoyancy.
From earliest times, man had experimented with bags of hot air that rose, carrying animals, messages, artillery observers high into the sky. Ancient documents show how many men had dreamed of floating up into the air. Among the earliest practical applications of the hot air balloon was in the Orient. Rising above a defender's battlements, it gave eyes to any army farther seeing than any spies. Its use as an intelligence weapon was perhaps smaller than the psychological effect it had on the enemy. Consternation and terror spread with demoralizing effect when the protection of the city walls was made nothing by the balloons rising over them. Most famous of all the balloon experimenters were the Mongol Fiad. Their magnificently decorated hot air balloons became the classic pattern. Its like was seen in imitations across Europe. It became an object for sport, a challenge for adventurers, and an important function in all the armies of Europe. As with heavier-than aircraft, it was mainly the military who advanced its cause. The first development in the field was the improvement on the gas bag. The addition of the interior frame structure was the most important step taken in the construction of these monsters. Though hot air balloons were still used to rise to heights, it was the rigid airship, the dirigible, that realized the most magnificent aspirations. In World War I, London trembled under the threat of Imperial Germany's dreadnoughts of the air. The Zeppelins came, enormous, almost silent, bearing their massive load of bombs. In the hundreds of raids staged night and day, Count Zeppelin's airships marched across the English skies, some soaring as high as 5 miles, unreachable by fighter plane. The R-38 was built in England, and she only completed test flights before plunging into the Humber River with the death of 45 crewmen. The R-29, another British dirigible, wins the prize for Panatella shapeliness. In France, there was the Dixmude, acquired as a prize of war from Germany. And in Italy, there was the Roma with a solid keel. The Roma, too, ended in disaster. Disaster, in fact, seemed from the first to be the destiny of these aerial dinosaurs. No matter how adroitly they delivered the mail to steamships or to the world's tallest buildings, their eventual fate was preordained. But the Graf Zeppelin, traveling around the world in 10 days under Dr. Hugo Echner, gave new hope for the dirigible. The first American-built dirigible, the Shenandoah, crashed in 1924, torn apart by an Ohio storm. The Los Angeles served an honorable and long career with the United States Navy, performing carrier landings and mooring to the mast of a naval vessel. Lakehurst, New Jersey became famous as the center of airship activity, with dirigibles built, housed, and launched from the port. The Graf Zeppelin landed here, as did every other dirigible of the time. Soon the Los Angeles had a newer and bigger mate, the Akron. It towered over the smaller airships and fulfilled many of the promises of the partisans, including hooking and unhooking planes from her underside. But ill fate was lying in wait. In 1932, while attempting a landing in San Diego, a sudden gust of wind drew 3 of the ground crew up into the air. 2 of them plummeted to death. 1 man held on for 90 minutes and was pulled up to safety. The finest achievement was the fabulous Hindenburg, twice the size of the Graf Zeppelin. Equipped like a luxury ocean liner with lounges and promenades, it was in transatlantic service for almost 2 years when, in 1937, fate caught up with it at Lakehurst. In these unforgettable newsreel films, we see the plans and hopes of all those courageous pioneers coming to a catastrophic conclusion. Its flaming death marked the end of the age of the dinosaurs. To recreate that age for the motion picture screen, a team of highly specialized production designers set about to construct 5 Zeppelins. In London, they duplicate the German sky terrors of the First World War. In a cabin aboard one of the completed airships, the director of the movie, Etienne Perrier, explains some of the difficulties he faces.
One of them was shooting about 30 scenes in this little set, which is about 4 yards long and 2.5 yards wide, with about 11 actors all the time in the set. And you have to think of different ways of doing the scene so that it doesn't look too, it doesn't look boring at all. It has to look different every time. It's a good set, though. It's fun when it's finished.
Starring in the picture are Elka Summers and Michael York. They and the director had been working on locations all over England to bring this adventure drama to the screen. Perrier continues by telling about his own hopes for the film.
I don't think anybody can be indifferent to such a huge thing. Do you know that if you stood one of those World War I Zeppelins on its tail next to the Eiffel Tower, it would almost reach the top? Very few people realize that. It is a mammoth, huge thing. And anything which is out of proportion like that, I think is very fascinating. They were very dangerous too. I think most people know that. Anyway, I hope they know that.
The kite-like planes that attacked them so courageously are also reproductions, but certainly vivid enough to carry us back to the days when these aerial dinosaurs thundered through the skies of Europe while the world cowered beneath them, dreading even the name Zeppelin.